You are listening to the Critical Mass Radio Show, Orange County's business talk show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
Welcome to Orange County's longest running business talk show, and I am your host, Rick Franzi. We have an exciting show planned for you today. Why do you ask? Because Rocky Foroutan, who is the CEO of LenderHomePage, is our guest. Rocky, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. So you've been in business for 19 years. What was your original motivation to start this business?
Well, my original motivation, Rick, comes from when I actually got my first job. When I got my first job back in 1984, or it was 85 or 84 or 85, I got into the software business and I loved what I was doing. And I saw the executives at my company and I was intrigued by their positions and their influence that they had in the direction of the software and how engaging their conversations were. And I started having this feeling saying, hey, I really want to have a company of my own, a real software company where I rub elbows with smart people, but actually I'm in the center of it. I don't want to be just a player. I want to so I had this dream and I kind of carried it along with me. And I had a lot of business ideas or software ideas along the way, but I never actually implemented any of it. I kept saying, this would be a great software. This would be a great idea. We should make an application like that. And I would run it by my friends and people would just say, just do it. And I would never do it. Never had the courage to actually do it because in corporate world, as you know, they pay you just enough. They pay you just enough to keep you happy and not take that extra risk. And I was one of those people that didn't take that extra risk. But eventually, when I finally got laid off from my last job, I talked to my wife. I said, I've really been wanting to go on my own. And thankfully, she was employed and she could we didn't have any kids. So she said, go for it. And I went for it. And here we are about 20 years later. It's been a good ride.
That's such an important aspect for entrepreneurs to understand that I think it's a best practice. You might say it's common sense, but to engage your significant other in this major life-changing decision and making sure that they're up for the risk as well, right, Rocky? Because giving up a paycheck to start a business, that's a big financial decision as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually very employable when I got laid off. I was at kind of top of my game. The reason that I got laid off was that the whole internet bubble burst had happened. A lot of companies went out of business. I was working for a company that was trying to do voice over IP, which was all done in Asia. And so it was not me per se. And so it was a big leap of faith for my wife. And I said, hey, if I don't do it now, if I find my next gig, it's going to be another 5 years. Let me go for it now while we don't have kids. And she said, yeah, go for it. So that's what I did.
So how long did it take you after you started the business to really believe you had hit on a business model that was going to thrive and be successful?
Well, so that's interesting because the business model itself came first. I kind of stumbled into making some websites for some mortgage guys. I was brought in with my brother-in-law took me to this. He used to do promotional products, and he says, "Hey, I'm selling promotional products to this mortgage guy." And this was the top of the mortgage uprise in the 2002, 2003 timeframe, right before the meltdown, where the rise before the fall. So he said, you should come and talk to this guy and make him a website. And I said, okay. I went and talked with him, and he was a wholesale mortgage guy. So he said, I need a wholesale website. And I said, great, I can put that together. As I was doing the research on what kind of content I should put on there, I ran into these companies that were doing turnkey mortgage websites, but for loan officers or for mortgage brokers, smaller brokers. And they had a kind of a software as a service business model, $50 a month. I go, what? $50,000 a month forever? I like that. And so the business model, like you said, I said this is a great business model. All I have to do is make something better, make the designs better, make it run faster, make it, work well. Mm-hmm. And these guys will all come to me. And that's kind of what I set out to do. I said, let's make this thing really work well and give them a lot of options on their templates and stuff. But where the business really took off is when I started ranking for Google. When I started ranking for certain keywords in my business, like mortgage websites or mortgage website templates or something like that, we started ranking number one. And then that just brought a lot of inbound business to us, and we started just getting more and more business, and we started just supporting ourselves, and it just became really good.
So let's talk about what your firm does. What is it that you're today, here in this day and age, you're offering to your clients?
So what we offer our clients, we help loan officers and mortgage brokers and even lenders of much larger size better connect with the borrowers in an omni-channel way. For example, we provide turnkey websites, mobile apps in the Android and iOS stores, and a point of sale software. So and now social media, automatic social media posting for them. So basically, we let the mortgage guys do what they do best, which is do mortgages, and anything that they need to do in the digital realm, we try to bring under one roof, under LenderHomePage, and provide ready-to-go templates and or customized designs of the app or the website or the social media and all of that for them. So basically, we get them to do their job, and we are all-in-one solution for all their digital marketing needs.
So I think it's a best practice. So here's a second best practice already, about 8 minutes into the show with Rocky on entrepreneurial best practices. And identifying a niche is really powerful. And I'm wondering, from your perspective, can you give us sort of the pros and cons from an entrepreneur's perspective of being so focused in a specific industry, Rocky?
I can't emphasize that enough, Rick. I cannot emphasize that enough. Back when I was dreaming about being an entrepreneur, I read a book called Crossing the Chasm by Jeffrey Moore. And I'm sure you've read it. He talks about the D-Day, Normandy, where they put all of the Allies forces into one little island in France. And they said, if we can't win this particular beachfront, we're not going to win the war. So we have to start very, very focused. And with all of what we have, all of what we got, we go and get this beachhead, and then we can march on to the rest of it. And that stick to me. And to this day, anytime that somebody talks about, a new product idea or something about a new service or a new way of business model, and I run it against that test, and I said, does it help our overall mission and vision and our customer base? And if it doesn't, we throw it away. We throw it away because we have to. There's been just so much development and so much businesses coming around different niches. So for you to try to be a very horizontal play, it's not going to be, like you said, it's not going to be the best practice, because someone is going to be hyper focused on your customers, and your customers are, definitely going to be listening to that voice rather than you that deals with, coffee makers and mortgage guys. It just doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's no substitute for deep experience when you're talking with a prospect about their problems and identifying how you can help them. And I think that is part of the power for being in a niche, is the deep relationships you can build with your clients that are transferable really easily to other prospects in the same business space.
That's exactly right. You basically grow vertically first to make sure that you go deep into the way that they think, their pain points, and how to address those pain points. And once you resolve that, if you've really saturated the market, or if you've really, see something that is a natural progression to another vertical, then you make those moves. But I would highly recommend in specializing, finding the right niche that you can be the authoritative voice.
Right, because sometimes entrepreneurs, early stage entrepreneurs, they're like, well, I don't want to be confined by only being in a niche, and that may not allow me to grow for my aspirations. I'm like, you just said what I would say to them, which is there's always an adjacent industry that you can figure out how to go into once you've mastered one industry. It's hard to boil the ocean if you're an early stage entrepreneur trying to offer it jack of all trades and a master. Now, over these many years, Rocky, I'm sure there have been ups and downs of the industry that kind of, your firm probably trails that somewhat. I'm wondering, was there ever a time when you were really concerned because of external factors that your firm may become at risk?
Yeah, twice. Actually, 3 times, but then the third time turned out to be a false positive. The first time was, if you remember, the 2008 meltdown of the real estate market.
Let me think back. Oh, yeah, I do remember it. Yeah, sure.
I went out and bought a Mercedes. I went and bought a Mercedes because things were going so good. I went and bought a Mercedes and stuff, and I saw some of my customers saying, "Hey, New Century just went out of business." I go, it's just another lender. They said, then they started talking about Countrywide going out. Why Countrywide? And then I was too naive at the time to know what was coming down in terms of the tsunami. And then when it all started going down and the entire meltdown and the bailout, we saw about 60% of our customers exit the business altogether.
Wow.
So we had 60% of our business just went away. And the phones were not ringing. And if they were ringing, there were calls of cancellation. They're just calling, "Hey, cancel my subscription," Right. And I would show up under my table, like, "Oh, who's going to call me today?" And they kept calling, and it was pretty bad. But, being that we're an agile company and, we really have the way to survive, we pivoted really quickly. And we got into the other end of the market. So instead of doing mortgages, we started helping people doing loan modifications and debt settlements. So we became into that part and helping people find foreclosures and that kind of stuff. And by that time, I had stood up a brand new site called Lender 411, which was a consumer-facing site, and it wasn't a B2B site. So with Lender 411, we started doing like lead generation on mortgages and so forth. So just about 2010, 2011, the mortgage rates were dropped enough by the government so that they can spur up some more activity in the real estate, and it started happening, and we benefited from that greatly through our Lender 411 site. And it was great. So I said, I dodged that bullet. I was so happy. I was like really happy. And then came 2013, my second near-death experience, because in 2013, we built this empire in Lender 411 with organic search traffic, and we were getting so much search. All of a sudden, Google changed their algorithms.
Wow.
So the Penguin 2 algorithm came out, and all of the keywords that I was ranking number 1 for, they went to page 7, page 9, page 10. So we went from like making so much money on a daily basis from clicks and lead gen. We became that like really in hundreds of dollars instead of tens of thousands of dollars. So that was the second time. Oh my God. So then we re-pivoted again from consumer facing to B2B and software as a service. And then the last one, which was this COVID thing, we thought it's going to be also a kiss of death, but it actually turned out to be a very positive thing for us as an industry with mortgage and real estate. So that one was positive.
Sorry, that is such a story of what an entrepreneur faces, isn't it, Rocky? You can have a very successful business and business model, and something external can happen, and it causes you to have to re-engage and, to your words, pivot and find where is opportunity still for me with what I can do in the market.
That's right. So I passed the entrepreneurship test 3 times.
Your industry is in an interesting time right now.
It is.
I'm wondering from your perspective, someone who's working with quite a few companies, some of the best in a breed in your industry, what do you think? What advice can you give us on the outside who are looking at your industry, maybe from a consumer perspective rather than from an entrepreneur's perspective?
Yeah, it's funny. I was listening to an interview with one of the top loan officers, and he was saying that, look, we are entering a recession. There's no doubt about it. Everything is cooling off. Companies like Google, Facebook, Zillow, everybody, they are announcing cautious warnings out there that their revenues are going to be down, some to the extent of 30%, 30%. Facebook will have the first quarter that they will have negative growth. Google is not hiring as fast or has a freeze on hiring, or maybe even letting some people go. Some banks are letting a lot of people go because of the rising interest rates, the rise of cost of borrowing, and the whole inflation thing intertwined with that. But as it pertains to housing, there has never been a recession during which housing has been negatively impacted other than this last one. And this last one, which was in 2008, was caused by housing. So housing and having a home and buying a home is actually a very simple way to protect your money, especially because rent is going up in this inflationary. So renting is not the answer. Also, if you already have a primary home, to buy another secondary or a investment property with the advent of Airbnb and VRBO, and it's a lot easier to monetize those properties. So in a way, even though the initial shock is, oh, this is going to be another 2008, this is not a 2008 situation. This is not because of the lack of regulations or too many bad mortgages and stuff. This is just because the Fed is raising the interest rates to control inflation, and there has been a very big run up in property values. So once the property values do come down, right now everyone is holding to see where it kind of bottoms out in the new normal, right? Everyone is falling out of contract. But once that stabilizes, I think that we will have, it won't be a gangbuster period for us, but we'll get back to normal, which in my world means all of the mortgage brokers and loan officers will need to get back to basics, revisit and audit their website, their digital presence, their mobile app, their application, how they connect with realtors, how they connect with borrowers. So to me, it's actually an opportunity. To me, it's an opportunity for companies like us to kind of raise up to the top, where some of the bigger companies or venture-backed companies will go into the fear mode. Us being still agile enough, will have an opportunity to go out there and get our own share. So I'm actually excited about it.
That's interesting because there's a lot of press about how high interest rates are now for buying a home. But if you've been, if you've been in the market for a while, you recognize we're still at historically low, relatively speaking, interest rates, given what used to be thought of as a good mortgage. If you could get a single-digit mortgage not that long ago, you were really doing something special, let alone as low as they were for a while. So that's interesting perspective, and I agree with you. Entrepreneurs can pivot faster than large organizations that have layers of decision makers, many times not really focused on the needs of the customer and the marketplace. So congratulations for you for your attitude. Where do you go, Rocky, to gain access to other entrepreneurs who have insights and experiences that you can then help you to grow and kind of expand your business?
Well, there's a talk show called the Critical Mass Talk Show that I watched.
Thank you.
No, I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start doing that because I think that you really bring a lot of great, you really take out a lot of great insights from entrepreneurs, which I could use. But I'm actually a member of a CEO peer group. We meet once a month, and that's precisely where we, we discuss what we see in the market, and we actually process each other's issues. Like if I have an issue with go to market, or I have an issue with my pricing, or even some personnel issues, we just run it and process it via the whole 12 or 14 man team. And I get a lot of value out of that. And I also try to either do Audible or books that are trending and the latest and greatest business news. So I try to do as many podcasts and Audibles as I can, as well as my CEO peer group.
Fantastic. Let's talk about tomorrow, Rocky. You know, entrepreneurs, you always have a big, bright vision for the future. What's your vision for your firm in the future?
Well, so we actually just finished our coming up with our company values exercise, and we started from the ground up. This is one of the things that I borrowed from my CEO peer group is we, instead of just saying, hey, these are our company values, we went from the bottoms up, and we had multiple sessions with everyone on the team on Zoom and in person, and found out what makes them tick and put them all into the same bucket, and try to come up with individual values out of what everyone shared. And we have our values, and one of them is growth. And so I am a big believer that unless you are continuing to grow, you're just going to burn out and go to the wayside and just not have the passion that you used to. So, and growth doesn't mean always new subscribers, more subscribers, or growth means, to be better than you were yesterday. To us, it means to be better than. I'm still having a lot of fun. I've just basically begun. I mean, we have just organized. We've just put our leadership team together, because this used to be a lifestyle business for me, where I was like there's a book that I read that says a genius with 1,000 helpers. That's the expression, as opposed to a cohesive team, a whole leadership team that you're just facilitating. I've just transitioned from micromanaging everybody and trying to tell people what to do, to little by little becoming one that relies on the leadership team, and I work on the business rather than in the business. So I'm really enjoying myself, and I'm really seeing our team thriving and hitting this market challenge head on. So I'm loving it. For us, we have actually to get down, double click and get down a little bit deeper. We're trying to grow in our mid-market space. We're trying to, we have some great integrations with some of these loan origination systems, which opens the door up for us for a lot of the mid-market mortgage companies, which we did not have as prospects before because of our product limitation. So that's going to be a great growth area for us. And we're going to win a lot of it from our competitors who are maybe sleep at the wheel, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to win a lot of those. And then on the small to medium size, like individual loan officers, small brokers, and them, we just added, as I said, our social media product. So we're going to add more marketing and more availability on the internet to our value, to our product bundles. And I think those are going to be the two growth areas for us. So we think the business is actually slated for a pretty good growth in the upcoming 12 months.
So it's exciting to hear, after close to 20 years in this, the passion and enthusiasm you have for what you're doing is still at a fever level. And that's fantastic. I think that's, again, one of the secondary benefits of creating a business and being an entrepreneur, is the fact that the longevity for its motivation can be quite high. If someone would like to connect with you or learn more about the firm, where do you say they go, Rocky?
I'm always on email. According to my wife, too much on email. But Rocky at LenderHomePage.com, ROCKY, Rocky at LenderHomePage.com would be a great place to start. That's probably the best place to start, because then I can, my phone numbers and everything is in my email signature. When I send the email back, we can connect on phone or get on a Zoom call. If there's anything that I could do to help another young guy get into entrepreneurship, or if there are questions that I can answer about our business or partnerships or whatever, I am really looking forward to it, to connect with more like-minded people.
Well, thank you for your time today. I've appreciated it, and I've so enjoyed our time together.
Same, Rick. I appreciate you inviting me, and Haley, your producer. She's great and very diligent, and I appreciate you both, and I hope that we can talk again soon.
Sure. I'd like to thank the audience for being a part of Orange County's longest running business talk show. Rocky's episode was episode number 1381 in our catalog. If you're an Orange County entrepreneur and you'd like to tell your story the way Rocky just did, then connect with me on LinkedIn or my website. They're both the same, Rick, R-I-C, Franzi, Franzi.com. And until the next time we have a chance to be together, I hope all of your business decisions will move your company in a positive direction.